if they're telling you to toughen up your baby or child with your treatment, if they're telling you to isolate them or yell at them or do anything with your child other than co-regulate them when they're stressed, do not take this advice. Welcome to Spoil Your Baby podcast. I'm Dr. Greer Kirschenbaum, neuroscientist, doula, and mom, and I'm here with my wonderful co-host.
Hello, I'm Lucia Zanini, also neuroscientist and mom. And today we have another myth, something that we often hear, right, Greer? Should I share this with the audience?
Please.
So this is something we hear. Somebody's psychologist said this to a mom. This mom, is co-regulating her baby and attending really to the emotions and needs of her child. And the psychologist said to her, well, that's great, but when your baby is around 3 or 4 and they go out into the real world to kindergarten, they'll expect all adults to do that for them, and that won't happen, and they're going to get into a shock. In the real world, they're going to meet adults who say, stop crying, that's enough. And so there's just nurture is just not going to help them. What do you say to this, Greer?
Oh my gosh. I mean, this makes me so mad, right? Like, it's this idea, if you're nurturing your baby, you're not preparing them for the real world because the real world's harsh and mean and evil. And they have to know that, life is hard. And so you got to treat them tough when they're a baby so that they're going to go out into the world and know that the world's tough, right? I mean, it's heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking to know that parents are influenced by this because it makes such a really scary impact on babies and their developing brain. We know that babies need something so different than that in those first 3 years in order to be able to handle the harsh world. We're not naive to that. We know this world is stressful. We know there is evil in the world. We know that all the adults in our child's life are not going to be us. But we also know, and you can tell us more about this, that children do the best in that hard world when they have a deeply nurturing parent, at least one. Right? You want to tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, well, this is backed by a mountain of research. Actually, I wish I had my manual here. There is a manual of attachment research this big.
Yep,
You have it.
I have it up here myself.
Anyways, and that essentially says, yes, your children will do wonderfully if they have at least one secure attachment relationship. And so what does this mean in this context that we're talking about here? So one of the main roles of the attachment figure is to be safe haven. And so what that means? Safe haven is when the child is dysregulated and experiencing strong, difficult emotions. You act as safe haven, exactly that. You give space, you hold the child, you co-regulate the child. And that is what is going to prepare him or her for the real world.
I was just thinking, in those moments, you can imagine yourself, basically you're like a helper in like building their brain. Every time you're there in those moments, it's like, this is a session where we're going to build your brain to get ready for that big, scary world that eventually you're going to encounter.
Exactly. And so it's very, very important that parents know that their relationship with their child is the most important, and it can never be equal to a teacher that says, stop crying, to I don't know, he went to a camp and the monitor was like saying, well, stop crying. They're not attachment figures. And yes, there's going to be stressful, but that is stress. That is part of life. And tell us more about that, Greer, about what, yes, children need stress in their life, but what type of stress, Greer? Tell us about that too.
Yeah, such an important highlight, right? Like that just completely knocks that myth out, right? To just say, you better be harsh because other people are going to be harsh, right? No. First of all, you're building that brain in your child to be able to handle those stressors, to be able to be flexible in dealing with challenges that are hard in their life. And you can still be their safe haven, right? Something stressful can happen to them out in the real world. Maybe they'll deal with it really well because you've been co-regulating and helping them. But then they can also come home and say, someone was really unkind to me today and I'm upset about it. And again, like be able to unpack that with them. And that experience will not be traumatic because they have the safe person again to go back to instead of storing that as some trauma in their mind and body, right?
Exactly.
Which is so, so important. So you absolutely can, and in the infant years and beyond, and should be that safe place for them to sculpt their brain.
That is what prepares them for the real world.
Completely. Because let's talk about how this inverted U stress curve, right? Bringing in some science here. So one of the big criticisms that I think this kind of myth draws on is, if the kids are too protected, that's not going to be good for them, right?
And that is true.
And that is true. 100%. So if we think of like an upside down U on one side, so that the U is low, that's low stress, right? And so if we're doing sort of like a helicopter bulldozer parenting style, where we remove all obstacles for our child, where we cater to their every single, cup color choice and how they want the banana cut and, the exact clothes that they want, right? And just kind of like fuss like that. And not let them have those like normal stressors that kids have. Like, oh, I don't like the color of my cup today. I don't like this shirt, right? Then we're going to really be denying them experiences to get stressed from these normal everyday experiences, right? That actually doesn't prepare them very well for the real world because then they, are vulnerable to stress. They're not going to be able to handle it later. The middle of the curve is a tolerable amount of stress. And that's when we don't bulldoze or helicopter them. We let them fall down and get hurt and help them recover. We help them recover from the banana being cut the wrong way or the yellow shirt when they wanted a green shirt. And we let them go through their stress with us, co-regulating them in those experiences. That's the sweet spot. That's the Goldilocks spot. That's the place where they are going to be able to grow up and have a very beautiful, resilient stress system and be able to handle things. And then on the highest end, the U is down again. And that's that toxic stress. That's where we are harshly parenting. We are isolating them when they're crying or scared. We're saying, don't cry, shake it off. We're saying your feelings don't matter. I don't want to see your feelings. When we're acting like that harsh person that this myth is describing we be, their stress system will grow up to also be very vulnerable. So the truth is, we don't want to take away all their little stressors and bulldoze them away. We want them to experience them with us there. We don't want to be this harsh person who doesn't tolerate anything. We want to be in the middle. We want to, them to have all those beautiful things, those stressors that will happen, see them as opportunities to grow their brain and be present with them. And that is what actually prepares them for the real world. And it's kind of what, if we actually do that inner work and look inside, what we all wish we had as babies. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the kind of speculation of what's going on for people who are telling parents this?
Yeah, well, in this case, this person is a psychologist, right? And so it's mind-blowing to me that a psychologist should be an expert on the mind and body is so very uninformed about that science to begin with, but also it just shows how harmful it is to work as a psychotherapist when you have not done your own healing and your own work, because this is a projection. To think that you have to prepare a little child for a world where they're going to be told stop crying is because you want this child to adapt to something you will probably say to a child. And why would you probably were told that as a child. So
Yeah.
now you want the world to adapt to you. That is my take. That's my analysis of the situation. And just I want to highlight it's very, very important that when we are looking for a psychotherapist, that they have done their own work. Very, very
Yes.
important.
We really want to make sure. And not only their own work, but their own work at looking at their infant experiences.
Yes.
Especially those, right?
I
Do
guess,
they
yes.
know, have they looked at the pain that they might carry from being rejected as a baby or sleep trained as a baby or, emotion silenced as a baby?
Exactly.
And
Because
I know
this is,
I've done that work.
Yeah. This is projecting pain. Exactly that. That's her own pain. Projecting
Yes,
outwards because this person cannot deal with that pain. So there you
absolutely.
go through life like this.
Absolutely. So yes. And, even if you, if you're looking for mental health support, keep this in mind when you're having a consultation with someone. And if you're already seeing somebody and they're not informed in this area, don't listen to them in this realm. If any mental health provider is telling you to sleep train to solve some kind of mental health issue for yourself or your child, walk away from that. If they're telling you to toughen up your baby or child with your treatment, if they're telling you to isolate them or yell at them or do anything with your child other than co-regulate them when they're stressed, do not take this advice. Please do not. It is really, really out there. We're seeing it, day after day. It's still, it's still there.
Yeah, this is why we wanted to do this episode.
Completely. And so we know you have a lot of questions about this, about probably this inverted U of like, what does it mean to be, a helicopter or permissive parent and bulldoze all their stress and take away their stress? And what does it mean to be harsh, right? And there is a lot of nuance to it. And we absolutely welcome questions. We've created a really fantastic free event for mothers where we will go over this. One of the days is about stress and our baby's stress. So we're really, really passionate about this. We really want this to reach as many mothers as possible. It's free to attend live or to get a recording. This will just help grow nurture in the world. And so please join us for it. You can get an invitation by commenting Bloom on any of my Instagram posts or at the link in my bio on Instagram. You can find a link. And we're really hoping to change things with this free event and the programming that we have for mothers going forward, because this stuff's confusing and it's pervasive and it gets into our subconscious and it comes out in our parenting in ways that are not going to really support our babies and ourselves as we grow. And we want the opposite for you. We want the best for every mom and baby that finds us, right? Yeah, absolutely. So check it out. That free event is in July and we hope to see you there. I should also say we have a free community for parents in our app that will be open leading up to this event too, where you can ask lots of questions as well. So please join us in all the ways that feel welcoming to you. And we're here for you. Take care until next time.